Hello, welcome back to SCI Teach. Literature in English is one of the most expressive and enriching subjects, especially in secondary schools, because it offers students the opportunity to explore culture, language, and human experiences. Yet, despite its importance, many students consistently perform poorly in it. In fact, according to the recent WAEC and NECO report, literature in English records one of the highest failure rates among art subjects. For example, in 2023 WAEC, over 35% of candidates scored below credit level, while NECO reported that only about 50% of students passed literature with credit and above that same year. And these statistics raise a serious question. Why do so many students fail literature in English? In this video, we will uncover the major reasons behind this trend and discuss how students can overcome these challenges. Okay? Remember to subscribe to this channel, like and share the videos to your friends and classmates so that they can learn these basic truths. So, why do students fail literature? Number one, inadequate knowledge of the texts. That's one of the most common and dangerous weaknesses in students. They don't read the full text. They get the summary book that is in textbook form that they use in school. And what is in that book is the summary. They summarize the text. And students tend to read that and feel they know the whole story. But no, it's wrong. Many students rely on key points, which will miss out the nuances of plots, character development, themes, and style. For instance, the WAEC chief examiner reported that in second-class citizen, candidates failed to deeply explain Mr. Noble's struggle with rent laws or Ada's educational journey. That shows that the students had shallow understanding, possibly because they read those summary books. And also in The Invisible Man, many could not accurately recall the grandfather's advice. But that is a very important moment in the plot. So for them to not know that means they read the summary. So that is the number one reason why students fail literature. Understand that reading summaries is not enough. Literature is about interpretation, appreciation, and evidence from the text. You must read and reread the full novels and the plays. Don't rely on summaries. Okay? The second one is poor question interpretation. Not understanding what the question demands. The WAEC chief examiner also noted that in the question about Massa and Mashak, candidates focused only on the events around those characters but failed to link them to the development of the plot or thematic concerns like xenophobia or Pan-Africanism. And also in Let Me Die Alone, many identified the evil acts of Lamboy and Musa but failed to connect those acts to themes of power, struggle, and colonial pressure. So it's either the students don't know what to write or they simply do not understand what the question is asking. So the advice is always identify what the question is really asking. Which themes or characters are involved? What role does the event or person play in the whole story? For you to be able to do that, you must underline or you break down the question into key parts before answering them. Number 3, poor literary appreciation skills. Students often cannot discuss the themes They cannot identify and explain literary devices. They cannot evaluate author's intention and message. The chief examiner noted that in the brotherhood question from Invisible Man, students described events but failed to explain how the brotherhood's ideology is a commentary on black and white relations in America, and how this contributes to the narrator's development and the novel's message. So what should you do? You must go beyond what happened to explain why it matters and how it shapes characters or themes. You do this by practicing to identify symbols, identify motifs, narrative techniques, foreshadowing, and many others. Number 4, lack of originality and over-reliance on crammed notes. So examiners noted that many students repeat memorized lines from study guides without showing personal understanding. See, this often leads to irrelevant answers or generic responses that will lack depth. It shows when students misapply characters or they mix up events from different parts of a book. What should you do? Think critically. Ask the questions, what does this mean in the context of the story? Ask the question, why is the author presenting this? Be confident in your thoughts. Then support those your thoughts with evidences from the text. You are good to go. Number 5, poor expression and illegible handwriting. Now, you may know the answer but cannot communicate it well. Many students write in broken grammar with no paragraphing, no clarity. They write illegibly, and that will lead to loss of marks, even if the content is correct. Take note. So what should you do? Practice writing essays by hand under timed conditions. Do that a lot. Then write clearly. Your handwriting must not be very beautiful, but it must be clear. Use proper punctuation and organize ideas into paragraphs. You do this by practicing daily. You get better in it. Let it have the paragraphs. Let it have introduction, which will restate the questions and outline your response. Okay? Let it have the body, which will then discuss each point, explain them with evidence. Then let it have a conclusion, which will summarize your argument. Okay? Number 6, failure to make textual references. Many students' answers lack direct quotations or references to specific scenes or lines. This will weaken your arguments, and to the person marking, it shows you may not know the text. In literature, quoting shows both familiarity and understanding. Alright? What should you do? Memorize key quotes from major characters and scenes. Use them wisely to support your points. Okay? Make references to specific lines, to specific scenes. Okay? That will help as backup to your argument, and then the person marking would know this person really knows what he's saying, and that's why I was able to quote, because he read the text and was able to remember what he or she read. Number 7, weak character and theme analysis. You see, students often describe what characters do without analyzing. What should they analyze? Their motivations, their growth, their symbolism, or how they reflect societal issues or themes. The chief examiner reported also that in describing Mama Orojo, Some students just said she was a businesswoman and religious. But deeper analysis would show how her courage and faith reflect moral integrity in a corrupt society. That should be included. So what should you do? Always ask, what does this character represent? How do they change or affect others? If you ask that question, the answer will help you analyze motivations, growth, symbolism, and reflect and how the characters reflect societal issues or themes. Number 8, the tense used. There are 3 tenses that can be used in analyzing literary texts. Number 1, present simple tense. That's what we call literary present. Most of the summaries are written in present simple tense. In fact, this is a standard practice in literary analysis. Why simple present? It makes the story feel alive and ongoing. It reflects that a text is always present, so we can open the book and read any part at any time. So we describe events as though they are happening now. I repeat, we describe events as though they are happening now. That is a very important note. It will help the reader to stay engaged and close to the action. Example, in your literature text, when analyzing, you see something like Ada sneaks out of the house. You see Mr. Cole shows understanding. Mama Orojo is a businesswoman. Masa's death hastens Ni's departure. Even though all these events occurred in a fictional past, we describe them in the present. So, present simple tense is a standard for analyzing literary texts. But then, we can also use present continuous tense, but less frequently. Okay? So it appears when the writer wants to show that an action is ongoing or still in progress within the story world. Example, Ni is searching for his identity. Mama is traveling to Ghana in search of Ni. So that will give the feeling that the characters are in the middle of doing something in that part of the plot. But remember, you are using present simple tense as a standard. I'm saying you can use present continuous if in that text that event was ongoing, it was happening, it was an ongoing verb. So you will use present continuous. I'm not saying anything about past here. But then you can also use past tense in very rare occasion, mostly used in background. Okay? So you might see past tense especially when referring to events that happened before the current narrative moment. Some cases like flashbacks, historical references. Example, the grandfather gave the advice on his deathbed. You couldn't have used present simple tense because that thing happened as a flashback, happened in the past of the present story you're writing. Remember I said the present simple is the most important. Now I'm going to give you a lot of examples with real the text you are reading so that you will see what I mean and you will understand perfectly, because this is the most important reason why students fail literature in English. Okay? Let's see some examples. So in Wole Soyinka's text, The Lion and the Jewel, there was a question in WAEC that says, examine the encounter between Lakunle and Sidi in mourning. So identify what the question is. You were required to examine the encounter between Lakunle and Sidi. That means you have to narrate events that has to do with both characters. Okay? How should you answer that? You first identify the theme of conflict between tradition and modernity. Then go ahead to identify the characterization. That's Lakunle and Sidi. Then you answer your question. Their encounter. You go this way. In the clearing at the edge of the market, Sidi is returning from fetching water. So you're already hearing what I'm saying. I'm reporting in present simple tense. I didn't say Sidi was returning from fetching water. I said Sidi is returning from fetching water. She is carrying her pail on her head. I didn't say she was carrying her pail on her head. She is carrying her pail on her head. This is how to report it in simple present. She has tied a wrapper around her chest. Not that she tied a wrapper on her chest. That's past tense. She has. I'm speaking as though this thing is happening now. She has tied a wrapper on her chest. Lakunle is teaching arithmetic. That means he's doing it now. That's how to report. That's literally present. Lakunle is teaching arithmetic. He abandons his work and follows Sidi. Lakunle tries unsuccessfully to persuade Sidi to give up carrying water on her head. He is all about modernity against Sidi's traditional values. He rejects the bride price to which Sidi clings. What did you notice? All simple present tense. This is how WAEC expects you to report. If you've not reported it this way, this is the reason why you failed literature. Now, also note that even when you explain it correctly like that, you must be able to relate the usage to the significance. What do I mean? This question asks us to examine the encounter between Lakunle and Sidi in morning. We have to, after answering it, relate it to the significance. So we go significance of the encounter. It reveals how removed Lakunle is from the culture of his people. Lakunle's use of language and his behavior makes him look ridiculous and funny. Tradition holds sway with Sidi, who insists on her bride price. Having already seen Sidi's picture, the bail is nursing the thoughts of marrying Sidi. So what I'm saying is, write out the theme, write out the characters relating to the question. So in this question, theme was conflict between tradition and modernity. The character, according to the question, this question, because he's talking about a particular plot now, the characterization was Lakunle and Sidi. You write those two and then you answer your question. The encounter, because this was asking to examine the encounter between Lakunle and Sidi. And I'm saying while doing that, only narrate the events that has to do with just both of them. Don't go and tell us something that this one did singularly and the other one did singularly. Narrate only the events that took place with just both of these characters you've identified. And then go ahead in narrating, but narrate in simple present tense. Okay? And then connect it to the significance. Like in this case, significance of the encounter. If you do that, you have complete marks in WAEC. Another example is in the text of John Osborne, Look Back in Anger. And the question was, does Jimmy love Helena? So identify, what does the question ask? So the question demands that the candidate examine Jimmy's love for Helena. Now, so what you were to do was identify the theme, which is social class conflict, strained marriages, and strained friendships. Provide the detailed character description of Jimmy and Helena. Then go ahead to narrate the events that connect Jimmy and Helena. And highlighting the part of love. Okay? We'll go like this. The first one was Helena's presence at Jimmy's one-room flat. And how it went? Helena is unable to tolerate Jimmy's offensive behavior towards everyone and threatens to slap him. Present simple tense. And another event was Jimmy and Helena after Allison is gone. And what happened then? When Helena tells Jimmy, "I love you," his reply is, "I think perhaps you do." Yes, I think perhaps you do. Jimmy can afford to kiss Helena and make love to her. What did you notice? Simple present tense. Even when it was going to sound ridiculous for you to use simple present tense. You notice that place? When Helena tells Jimmy, "I love you," his reply is, don't go and say, "No, this statement is wrong in English." His reply was, "No." Report it in simple present tense. His reply is, "It's happening now." Remember, in literature, it is happening now. So his reply is, "I think perhaps you do." Yes, I think perhaps you do. Then, finality is brought to their relationship when Allison re-enters or suddenly reappears. That's another event. So what happened? Jimmy has angrily demonstrated that he does not love Helena. He sees Helena as articulate and combative, but she is upper class, like Allison. Most of his arguments with Helena are on Allison and her parents, or on religion and politics, hardly on matter of intimacy. Jimmy confesses to Clive before the latter leaves. Present continuous, not before the latter left. Before the latter leaves. And what was the confession? Something I want from that girl downstairs. Something I know in my heart she's incapable of giving. You must put that confession if you are writing about this. It is very important to highlight that and all this I've said to be able to score complete or full marks. Another example is in August Wilson's Fences. The question is, show why Bono is committed to his friendship with Troy. So remember, first thing, state the theme. And what's the theme here? Racial discrimination and its negative effects on an African American family in the 1950s. That's the theme. Then the characters. The question is talking about what character. So identify the character, Troy Maxson and Jim Bono. And then go ahead and show why Bono is committed to his friendship with Troy by narrating the events in which Bono and Troy were in and relating to friendship, commitment to friendship. The first one was Bono is committed because of Troy's honesty. So you explain, Troy is determined to do what is right for everyone. He builds defense, lends Leon's money, and takes care of Gabriel. Troy confesses. What did you notice? Present simple tense. Troy confesses to Rose his act of infidelity. Bono, just like Troy, wants to uphold what is right in life. Bono wants to avoid committing mistakes in life. He says, simple present, not he said. He says, Troy has showed me how to not make mistakes. That was the first instance. Another one, Bono is committed because of Troy's capacity for hard work. And how about that one? When Bono visits Troy at home, he finds Troy sawing wood for the fence. Rose desires and joins him. Bono appreciated Troy's exploits when he was playing baseball and the handling of his finances and his family's needs. Another instance was Bono is committed because of Troy's strength. In that, Troy speaks against the whites' act of oppression against the blacks. And that paves the way for him to be promoted to driver. Bono admires Troy for being a disciplined father. He says Troy has taught him to take life as it carries along and keep putting one foot in front of the other. So you notice, first thing first, state the theme of the book, the plot, and then the character, not the whole book. The character adds to the question. Question now is asking about Bono and Troy. So you just clearly state the characters. Troy, Maxine, Jim, Bono. You must state the theme and the character before you start answering your question. Don't just go straight up and answer. And when you state these two and start answering your question, narrate it in simple present tense. You can put past tense if there is a flashback. You couldn't have put it in simple present tense, and you put it in past tense, because even in the book's present, that is a past. Okay? Then also in Government Driver on his retirement, the question was, examine the changes in mood in a government driver on his retirement. So what are you asked to do? You are to examine the changes in the mood of the driver. So you should be able to relate the changes in the mood of the poet's persona to the theme of the poem. Okay? So you first of all identify the theme. The theme was temperance. And then the character. Of course, no character in this case, just the driver, So you go ahead and explain what mood is. So define and explain what mood is, and then go ahead and answer or examine the changes in mood. The first instance was mood of celebration upon retirement. Okay, how about that? Both the poets and the persona join in celebrating the letter's retirement. And then the mood of reckless abandon. While the persona jubilates in his freedom, the poet comments on the price the persona has to pay on his drunken state. Also, the mood change as a result of drunk driving. The poet reports the change of mood as not a happy one. The persona tragically ends his life. So, theme, characterization. If there is a literary device, you define and explain it, and then go ahead and answer your questions appropriately with the present simple tense. Also, in Black Woman, there was a question. Consider the use of alliteration, assonance, and repetition in Black Woman. So no character now. So understand what the question is asking. Okay? Don't just give list of alliteration, assonance, and repetition without any explanation. No. Okay? So state the theme. And what's the theme? The beauty of Africa. Then go ahead to explain what alliteration means, what repetition means, what assonance means. Okay? And then go ahead to answer your question. Like we've done before, identify the use of alliteration, repetition, and assonance in the poem. Remember, you must always tie it to the significance. So the significance of the use of alliteration. Alliteration is used to buttress the beauty of Black Woman. It enhances the rhythmic or musical movement of the poem. Present simple tense. Significance of repetition. Repetition is used to draw attention to words and phrases that highlight the beauty and grandeur of Black Woman. And the significance of assonance. Assonance is used to celebrate the beauty of Black Woman. It is used to highlight the grandeur of Black Woman. It helps build the tone of the poem. So, understand all this. Another example, examine the use of imagery in Caged Bird. So, understand what the question is asking, and then state the theme of freedom of nature. No character, so explain what imagery is. Okay, then go ahead to examine the use of imagery in the caged bird. So images associated with freedom. The free bird moves about in nature. He is content or happy and dares to claim the sky, names the sky his own. Then the images associated with captivity. The caged bird is immobile and lives in bars of rage. Feet are tied, wings are clipped. Okay? Present simple tense. The caged bird is unable to dream. Is unable to dream. Grave of dreams. Nightmare of screams. Narrow cage. Fearful trail. The caged bird is in agony. Bars of rage. Narrow cage. Feet are tied. And then the position taken by persona. The caged bird is associated with negative images. The free bird is associated with positive images. It is clear that the persona gravitates towards freedom, and the free bird symbolizes this freedom. You have examined the use of imagery in caged bird. Another one is in Buchi and Mecheta's Second Class Citizen. The question was, compare Ada with Francis in the novel. So understand what the question is asking, and then state your theme. The theme of marriage and the struggle for survival in a male-dominated society is paramount in that novel. Then state your characters, Ada and Francis, because the question has clearly asked you about two people, Ada and Francis. So state that character. Character identification, Ada and Francis. Then start comparing Ada with Francis in the novel. The first comparison based on attitude to life. You go ahead. Ada is hardworking, sensitive, and affectionate, but Francis is rather opportunistic, lazy, insensitive, and selfish. That's your first comparison, presented in present simple tense. The second comparison based on attitude to marriage. Ada is committed to the marriage, while Francis cares little about his wife and children. Francis plays the male chauvinist, while Ada resists the oppression of male domination. Ada respects the institution of marriage, while Francis does not seem to comprehend the union of husband and wife. Then another comparison is comparison based on attitude to childbirth and child upbringing. You go ahead. Ada sees children as gifts that should be cared for, protected, and brought up in a disciplined mental and psychological regulation. She sees child upbringing as a mandatory parental responsibility that cannot be waived, relinquished, or passed on to third parties. Ada wants the best for her children, while Francis does not care about them. You see, you have compared Ada with Francis in Second Class Citizen, the correct way, and you earn full marks. The last example I'm going to use is in Alex Aguirre's Unexpected Joy at Dawn. The question is, how is Massa buried in the novel? So you know what to do. Tell me. Understand the question first. Ask yourself, what is the question asking? It wants me to describe how Massa is buried. Okay? So you go ahead, state your theme. Adverse effects of failed leadership as a theme. And then what the character in the question? Massa. You identify that character. Then go ahead and explain or describe how Masa is buried. The search of siblings. With Masa dead and things being difficult, Ni decides to leave for Nigeria in search of his people. Simultaneously, Ni's sister, Mama Orojo, embarks on a journey to Ghana in search of Ni. Then another one, Mama's inquiries about her brother. Mama tumbles on the fact of Masa's death during her inquiries about her brother Ni at Expense Bank. Then, the burial. She travels with Joe to the Kuforidua Government Hospital mortuary for the corpse. She carries the corpse to Sampa for burial. Thus, Masa receives a fitting burial from her unknown sister-in-law. You've answered the question. You're able to describe how Masa is buried, not was buried. Okay, that's already speaking literary present. All right. I hope you are able to learn the reasons why one would fail literature in English examination. The problem you may now have is, how do I start constructing statements in present continuous? If you still don't get how to do it, but you understand that you have to do it, then you can simply use some of the AI apps. Get a text, write it out, put it there and say, rewrite this in simple present tense. It will rewrite for you. Just get a random text, start practicing, put it in there, and it will rewrite to you in simple present tense. Read it and see. Remember, AI is not 100% correct. You can still have some things not properly done in simple present. You correct them. But with that, you learn with your simple stories. It could be a simple story of how you went to the stream, if you go to the stream, how you went to a swimming pool. Write the story the way you know it, past tense. Then put it in AI, type it there and put it in an AI app, maybe ChatGPT or anyone, and say, rewrite this in simple present tense. If you want to give it more idea, you add this, which is a standard for literary analysis. It will give you, and you read it and understand, okay, this is how I would put such things. Then start practicing. Start writing simple stories in present continuous. And before your exams, you just may be the one to have A in literature. Alright? Remember to subscribe to this channel, like and share the videos to your friends who need help in literature. Thank you. God bless you.